What's going on, everyone? Thanks for tuning in again for the LS Swap Montero. We're getting pretty close now. Unfortunately, I didn't film a whole lot of this building stuff. It was pretty easy. I haven't been doing a whole bunch lately, but this is what I got going up here. Different from the last time you guys saw. I have the trans cooler right here, needs to be plumbed up. The power steering cooler actually fits really nice underneath the radiator, and that goes straight to the power steering pump up there. I just have to get a couple lines made still to get the trans cooler on the radiator hooked up and to get this external trans cooler hooked up. I was also able to get this stock hood latch to work, which was awesome. It gets very close to the radiator. If you guys can see that, it does not hit it though, which is great. I don't think the radiator can't possibly move back that much, and it looks a lot better. Now, all I did with this was got the old piece that I had cut out at an angle, which was probably the wrong way to do it. Don't cut it at an angle, I would just cut it straight down. That way it's easier to put back. And I welded this 1-inch tube to it. And all it does is bolt in on either side, and then the stock hood latch bolts to it. And I don't remember what this part connected to on the stock car, but all I did was weld a tube down there onto this cross member I made, and I brought it up and used the stock bottom part for the hood latch. It shuts now pretty nice. You can see it closes just like a stock hood latch. The stock hood looks pretty normal. There's a little gap here, but I wouldn't worry too much about that. I think I just got to move the hood, slide the hood back a little bit on the mounts back there. But yeah, I mean, you can see it's very close up there, but I mean, close is close. It's not touching, so that's fine. Everything goes back like stock. It looks 100% stock on the outside. The hood latch still works great, which is cool. That's one thing, I didn't want to do hood pins, so just went. Yep, works perfect. I'm really happy with how that turned out. That was kind of one of the things I didn't want to mess with, was the hood latch. But turns out you could just use the stock one. I had to move the radiator forward like 1/4 of an inch. Today what I'm working on is a lot of the wiring. I just want to hook it all up and make sure my fuel pump primes and stuff like that. So this is the wiring harness I made. It wasn't too hard to make. I gotta clean up some stuff, but right now I just want to see if it works. This is all taped down. It's kind of how it's gonna be routed, and it's nice because obviously Suburbans are huge, so their engine bay is gigantic, and they stretch this computer cable out pretty far over on the driver's side. So I was able to route that around to the passenger side, where I have much more room to mount the computer and stuff. Intake is coming today. I just got one of those cold air intakes that 5.3s and LS guys use. They don't add too much power, and they're not super good in deep water, but I might make a box for it to use this stock one. They make the engine sound awesome though. That's definitely a plus for this, and I don't plan on taking it underwater too much. But I mean, you never know. This is the fuse box I made here. It's pretty easy. Really, all I need to start this engine is ignition, a 12-volt power source, so straight to the battery here, and my fuel pump wire. I just hooked that to the fuel pump sending thing, and I have a fuel pump relay in here, and it should work pretty easily. I'm only using, there's only 2 relays that are actually in here that I'm using. Right here you can see that's a constant power. All these 3 are ignition power. I actually have, for the 4-wheel drive, I have to add these 2 fuses. That's one thing. I don't know if I should add a fuse on just the ignition or just the constant power, but for now I think I'm going to add 2 4-wheel drive fuses. I'm not really sure what to do with that, but we're going to fill this thing up. I got the stock. This is a pretty important part here. You can get the stock temp sensor to work. I just ordered this. I didn't feel like tapping the head or anything because I didn't want to get anything in there. I just bought this adapter. I can't remember the size of the LS one, but it goes to 1/8 inch NPT for the Montero temp sender to go in, My ignition relay fuse, it's a black and yellow wire. There's a few of these in there, but this is the one I'm using. The reason I'm using it is because it gets power in the first click of the key, and it also gets power in hot, and it gets power in crank. So you need for the ignition relay to work correctly, you need it to get power in all of the modes on the key. So I have that, and then the only other the only other gauge thing that you should probably use is there's a tach wire. Now on the Monteros, I thought it read the tach, or it got the tach signal from the crank, but it does not. It gets it from this power transistor that sits on top of the intake, and you can see it's actually labeled, which is pretty cool. It's got VB, don't even know what that is, but it's got the tacho one, which is the signal that it sends to the tachometer. So this goes up. I know in the earlier videos I said you don't need anything under here. That's not true. You need those 3 wires that I just explained. So you need this tach wire. This will connect to the tach wire on the LS harness. It probably won't read correctly until you get like some sort of converter. I was talking to some of the guys in the Australian forum, and those guys are awesome. They helped me out. I didn't know that this got the tach signal, so they helped me out with that. And he was telling me that you can actually program the tachometer on this. It has kind of an adjustment on it, so I might try that. It might get close enough to where I can deal with it, or I mean, close enough to the correct engine speed. Not a huge deal, but it's nice to know. So it's either I can do that, or you can make a little converter box to have it send a V6 signal to the tachometer. That's something for later, definitely, but it's just something to note. Now this thing's actually really close to running. The thing is that since my engine is new, well, needs to be broken in, I'm gonna go ahead and do a hard break-in on it. I know some people don't do that. I think I might do a combination, kind of do an easy break-in to start up, and then I might take it out on the road and we're gonna pound on it for a little bit, just to get the pressure behind the rings to seat them, because that's the main thing that you need to worry about when you're breaking in an engine. And the reason that is kind of not ideal is because I don't know if this wiring I did is perfect, and I don't know if everything is going to work right when I start it. Everything's going to be firing perfectly, but I guess that's just the name of the game. You know, you gotta figure it out if it's going to work or not. And I also am getting drive shafts made right now. So the front drive shaft is a lot harder than the rear, because the front is a 2-inch diameter on the Montero and a 3-inch diameter on the Suburban I took it off of. So the guy has to neck it up all the way to a 3-inch, but he said he should be totally fine with that. It's really important that it's a 2-inch front drive shaft, because you don't have a lot of room for the exhaust. So I mean, the smaller drive shaft you can, the better. It might be a combination of small exhaust tubing in there and small drive shaft to make it all work, but we'll get to that. He should be done with it next week, both of them, and we'll be able to bolt them in and do the rest of the exhaust. What's up, guys? I've been kind of busy with some other stuff today, but I got to the wiring. I was having a problem with my ignition relay, so I took this as the back of my fuse box. It's a little messy right now, but it gets covered up anyways. So I was having a little problem with my ignition relay here. The trigger wire wasn't supplying enough voltage to actually trigger the relay, which is weird because it was supplying 11 volts, and from what I've read, they should trigger with just 8. So that was a problem, and I could not figure out why it was doing that. It would get 11 volts at this terminal when the relay wasn't in it, and then when I put it in, it would drop all the way down to almost no volts, 0.16 volts. So what I did was I took the relay out, tested it, it was good, so I hooked it up to this black and white wire, which is the ignition, one of the ignition wires. This actually gets power at key on, not key accessory like my other one did. This was the one that I got at key accessory, which was, this one's black and yellow. Don't use that one, use the black and white one. It'll prime the pump at on. Everything will work the same, I'm pretty sure. So that's the one I used. I got it to prime, which is cool. I just used this as my fuel pump. 12 volt wire from the LS PCM. I just ran it on the outside just to see. I was gonna kind of dig through the car and try and find the fuel pump wire and tap into it maybe somewhere in here, but I didn't feel like doing that. I didn't want to start cutting open wires. I've done enough of that. So I just cut it pretty close to the body up there in the gas tank area, and I ran this wire down. This will obviously get run through the car all the way to the back. Should be pretty easy, but I did get it to prime, and I'll show you guys that. So it primes at key on for 2 seconds, which is awesome. That's what I need. I might have to do it a couple times, of course, to fill these up the first time, but should be good after that. Alright, I'm going to show you guys how it primes at a key on. So it should prime it for 2 seconds. Let me go ahead and do that. Alright, that's key accessory, and here goes key on. And you can hear that relay click. Everything's ready to go right now. It turns on the PCM and all that stuff, so you can see how much fuel it puts in there on initial prime. And I am actually going to use the stock fuel pump. I looked up the specs and everything, and it should be fine for a stock 5.3, but I mean, we'll find out. If it starts breaking up at high RPM or something like that, then I know the problem. I talked to Toasty on Instagram. I'm sure a lot of you guys know who that is, and he's doing a 1UZ swap on his Gen 2.5, and I asked him what he was doing about the fuel pump. He said the stock one is solid, so he's only, I mean, the 1UZ is only a 4 liter, this is a 5.3, so it probably sucks a little bit more fuel, but we'll find out. I'll test it here for you guys. So you guys can see how I have the electrical routed. I have this main harness. Usually on the GMs, on the Suburbans and trucks and stuff, the computer's like down here. But the harness is long enough to extend all the way to the other side of the Montero, so that's where I'm going to have it. I have this intake. I had to cut down a whole lot. I'm going to get a shorty filter for it, and it should work out fine right here. I might end up building a box around it and everything. You guys will see that in a little while when it comes in. But I just want to show you guys how I had the electrical routed. So I wrapped it in this really nice, it's Christie's tape, but this super thick stuff, and it's going under there, which is good. And it just, I mean, it looks kind of clean. I don't know. Still have all this wiring to do, stuff with the 4-wheel drive. A lot of you guys probably won't have to do this if you're using the different transfer case, but I have to do it. And I still have to wire up some relays in here for the fans. Trying to get all my sensors squared away. This is for my oil pressure sensor, my sender, not a sensor, but yeah, it just screws right into there, and it's good to go. I just had to drill and tap this little plate that goes right, this is right above the oil filter on the 5.3s. So just drill and tap that and run your stock sender for your gauge. Should work totally fine. I got this fuse box all in here. It looks like a mess because it kind of is a mess. So I got the fuse box in there. This thing's ready to go. Got the intake on. That's ready to go. I had to get a short ram filter for it. And I had to dent this a little bit right there. I wouldn't have had to do that if I set the engine in like a 1/4 inch or an inch lower, because I could have. I just wanted a lot of room down there. Everything's pretty much hooked up to run, and you guys will definitely see it running the next video. As of now, I got the fuel pump, everything to work. It primes, it does everything it needs to do. I finished up this shifter, or this throttle linkage here. That's pretty cool. Pretty happy with that. Works perfect. Full throttle is full throttle. I did have to drill out the little catch thing down there for the pin kind of thing, so that would work. That's about it. This is my EGR. If you buy a 2002 engine, it won't have EGR anyways. They blocked it off. I blocked it off down there too, if you guys could see that, which you can't. That's where I'm at here. There's oil in the motor. There's not transmission fluid in it yet. A couple things I still need to do. I need to finish the trans cooler lines. That's been a pain to do. This probably isn't the right stuff for it. It kind of sucks to cut. I have to use an angle grinder. I didn't use it on this one, but I had to use an angle grinder, and it's really hard to put over the nipples on everything. With this radiator, I had to get these these nipples that go in here for the lines. It goes there, and there's one down there it's already connected. It's very, very close to driving now, to working and everything. All I need to do is, I have like 4 things to do. I have the exhaust, I have shifter linkage, which should be a fun one. I have to get a little coupler for this radiator line here, and I need to do the trans lines, and then it'll be ready to go. And of course, fill up all the fluids and stuff. I'm definitely going to clean up. Most of this is like for the fan grounds and positives, and then some go back into the cab, some go for the 4-wheel drive. It'll be nice and cleaned up, hopefully. I think that the PCM is going to live back here somewhere. It's a little hard to place. There's not a whole lot of room in these for a giant computer like that. It's basically like trying to fit another battery somewhere. There's not a lot of room. I was thinking back over there, but the hood hits it and stuff. It's a pain also, and I already have this fuse box over here. It looks good. I will build a box for this intake. I just haven't done it yet. But for now, it'll run like that perfectly fine. Oh, I gotta hook up heater core lines. A lot of simple stuff. So, I mean, I'll probably knock that stuff out in a day or 2 or a week or however long it takes to get parts if I need them. Yeah, getting parts has been like a big deal because it takes so long right now with this whole thing going on. Shipping takes forever. Took like a week just to get my little fittings and my stuff like that. So that's why it's been a while since the last video. I'm trying to make like a kind of complete, definitely not a step by step, but at least progress that I've done, because it's been pretty little progress in the past few weeks, just because I haven't gotten all my parts. I actually got the drive shafts done. There, I think you can see that. There's a drive shaft up there, and we had a mix up here with the front one. So this front, wherever the heck it is, in there, you can kind of see it. Yeah, we had a mix up with the front one, so the guy made it a little too short, or like 2 inches too short, which is alright. He just said take it back to him and we can get that sorted out. I'm gonna keep it for now just so I can finish my exhaust. This is still a mess in here. It'll be clean. It'll be ready to go. I have a lot of wires running from back here across for like OBD2 and stuff like that. I got my TCC torque converter lockup wired up with the brake pedal. That was pretty easy, just need a relay. Yeah, so it's very close. I gotta modify this shifter to work, so that'll be fun. That's about it, guys. Definitely tune in next time. I'm gonna have this thing running and hopefully driving. I have actually already started it up once, and if you are on the Montero Facebook page or something like that, I posted a really short video of it running for a second. Of course it wasn't running perfect because I don't have O2s hooked up, and big vacuum leak in the back where the power brakes go. But yeah, I got it running, which means all my wiring worked, and pretty happy about that because it was all custom, and it's kind of started right up actually. I was kind of nervous about that, very nervous about it. Never rebuilt an engine before, never done an engine swap like this, never done wiring like that, so to have it all come together at once is pretty awesome. Yeah, so I'll see you guys in the next one, and we're going to get this thing on the road.